Most Ruthless Leaders. Part 3. From Legend Diaries. With the help of Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy, General Franco overthrew Spain's democratically elected Second Republic during the 1930s. Under his regime, many Republican figures fled the country, and those who stayed were tried by military tribunals. Catholicism was the official only tolerated religion. Catalan and Basque languages were prohibited outside the home, and the regime had a vast secret police network. As Franco got older, however, police controls and censorship began to relax, free market reforms were introduced, and Morocco gained independence from Spain. A communist leader, Mao founded the People's Republic of China. Under his leadership, industry was put under state control, and farmers were organized into collectives. Any opposition was swiftly suppressed. Mao's supporters point out that he modernized and united China, and turned it into a world superpower. However, others point out that his policies led to the deaths of as many as 40 million people through starvation, forced labor, and executions. Interestingly, he is sometimes compared to Qin Shi Huang. Pol Pot and his communist Khmer Rouge movement in Cambodia orchestrated a brutal social engineering that aimed to create an agrarian utopia by relocating people into the countryside. Others were put in special centers where they were tortured and killed. Doctors, teachers, and other professionals were forced to work in the fields to re-educate themselves. Anyone thought to be an intellectual of any sort was killed. Often people were condemned for wearing glasses or knowing a foreign language. Up to 2 million Cambodians were executed or overworked or starved to death in just 4 years. Idi Amin was Uganda's politician, military officer, and Ugandan president during 1971 to 1979. He is notoriously known as Butcher of Uganda. During his rule, his enemies and opponents had to face imprisonment, torture or death, and sometimes all of these. Between 300,000 to 500,000 Ugandans were killed during his tyrant rule. He ordered Asians out of Uganda and blamed them for the country's great economic crisis and called on them economic war. Amin had a brutal habit of killing people by cutting of genitals, limbs, and bleed the victim to death. He is known for killing and torturing people in all the brutal ways possible. Also, women faced extreme torture, rape, and finally death. The most dangerous and cruel leader who became Ugandans' worst nightmare. Pinochet overthrew Chile's Allende government in 1973 with the help of a US-backed coup. Reports say numerous people disappeared under the regime and as many as 35,000 were tortured. Pinochet died before he could stand trial on accusations of human rights abuses. He brought back free market economic policies, which led to lower inflation and even an economic boom in the late 70s. Notably, Chile was one of the best performing economies in Latin America from the mid-80s to the late 90s. Enver Pasha began his career as a Turkish military officer before rising to power, leading the Ottoman Empire in both Balkan Wars and the First World War. His army suffered a harsh loss at the Battle of Sarikamish, and this prompted his systematic destruction of Armenia, having chosen the Armenians as the scapegoats for his defeat. The term genocide was created to describe this event, and the 2.5 million deaths are a testament to his evil. Oliver Cromwell led the Roundheads to victory over the Royalists in the English Civil War, and was one of the signatories of King Charles I's death warrant in 1649. This was just the start of his autocratic behavior. History has not been kind to one of Britain's few non-royal leaders in nearly 2 millennia, with Cromwell being widely regarded as a regicidal military dictator by many. His treatment of the Scottish and Irish Catholics is particularly derided. His religious rulings were highly controlling, and led to death tolls in genocidal numbers. Plus, he will forever be remembered as the man who took Christmas. Once seeming to be the great liberator of Mexico, Porfirio Diaz quickly proved himself to be an authoritarian who ruled with an iron fist, albeit for an impressive 27 years. As is often the case with dictators, their main focus was on themselves rather than of the people that they were ruling over. Diaz took control of Mexico from Manuel González, who had refused to relinquish the presidency, as was required by law. Diaz then hypocritically went on to do the same, centralizing the government, achieving total control, and arguably destroying the country's economy. Diaz later announced that Mexico would have presidential elections, and proceeded to rig the results, sparking the beginning of the Mexican Revolution. China has been plagued with its fair share of questionable leaders throughout its long history, but Fu Sheng is arguably the worst tyrannical leader of one of the world's most consistently powerful nations. The One-Eyed Tyrant, as he was lovingly called, he was an emperor who ruled the former Qin Kingdom. His nickname came from the fact that he had one eye, and was so self-conscious about this that he would have people killed if they used the words devoid of, without, lacking, or any other utterance that would remind him of his shortcomings. He led a violent and cruel regime, and some of his sadistic tendencies included boiling live animals, and skinning both live animals and humans. He was deposed while drunk and sentenced to death by being dragged by a horse. A humiliatingly illustrious short reign of terror. Thanks for watching, friends, and see you in the next video.